All right. Thanks everyone for joining. We're going to give everyone else another minute or two to join up and then we'll get started. Thanks for tuning in today. Okay, I think we have enough critical mass. Let's get started. Thank you again, everyone, for joining this week's webinar for Market Surge. We're covering the first 30 Market Surge morning routine for y'all. Okay, here's a quick disclaimer. Everything we'll be talking about today is just for informational purposes. We are not licensed here, so please do not use it as financial advice. I'll give you 10 seconds to read that. Thank you. All right. And today's hosts are myself. My name is Sunny as a premium product coach at MarketSurge. Also joined here by my fellow coach Nick.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Nicholas. I'm a premium credit coach here as well.
Excellent. And our agenda for today, we're going to talk about behind the curtain, what we're going to be doing. Essentially, we're showing you what we do before the market starts. What do we do after the market opens for the first 30 minutes? I do want to preface here that what me and my fellow coach Nicholas are going to show you, it's what we do. We're not proclaiming it as IBD methodology. It's just what we're showing you is what we do. So just keep that in mind. And then that way you can see like what does a coach do during their mornings, and then we'll give you some key takeaways. Anything to add to that?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head with that. I think that's the exact kind of realm we're going to be in. As Sunny mentioned here, this is something that him and I do. This is not um, going to follow the IBD methodology kind of to the T, but we're just going to go ahead and be personable with you
Mhm.
and give you guys a look behind the curtain on what we do in our day-to-day base. So.
Excellent. Yeah, so why don't you take us away, Nico? What are some things that you look for before the market starts? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, pre-market for me, it's especially with us being kind of those retail investors, I definitely want to check kind of overnight market sentiment. Um, Now this here, what I'm going to say is I do look at the futures, the S&P 500 futures ES. I do look at the Nasdaq's futures NQ and the Dow YM or YM. And then I also do look at the Fear and Greed Index. This is something that one of our previous colleagues, who unfortunately is no longer with the firm, kind of put me on almost 10 years ago. And I definitely like to look at the Fear and Greed Index. And even if you kind of scroll down on this page, it is free on CNN and it does kind of give you market momentum, which I think is pretty great. So I'll kind of go over that, show you if it's, if they have fear or greed or if it's neutral. So definitely something I like to look at within my pre-market uh type of routine here. Also, I do like to look at overnight news, and that's where market surge is going to come into play here. Especially market surge with the big guys, the big dogs, the Apples, the Nvidias, the Microsofts of the world. I want to look at some pre-market and see how these stocks are trending. I look at my own personal watch list and all the news here. Now, within the market search platform on the right-hand side, under the related information panel, we do have a news portion. And then we do have, about 5 to 6 different news outlets that we have. So you get news from investors.com, from NASDAQ, Benzinga, MarketWatch, Barron's, and Wall Street Journal. I do look at this every day, especially like the best one I can kind of describe is sometimes those biotech stocks may get some crucial news. They may get approved for clinical trials or they may get FDA approval. And when things like that happen, it can kind of make or break, a stock from time to time. So I definitely like to gauge overnight news. As I mentioned, I look at the um, some futures again, and that's just to kind of gauge overnight market sentiment. Even I do look at the global markets just to identify if there are any micro trends, as are some of the things that I essentially look for. And then also, just kind of checking my watch list, checking news, checking my holdings. Do I have conviction? Am I losing conviction? Within MarketSurge in the bottom left, you can kind of create your own watch list or you can import it. It's very simple to do so. If you just click on new, you go to list, and then it's going to have you name it. This is for whatever you want to name it. You can do it for the week, the day, the month, whatever you want. So go to save and you can save it automatically. I like to just copy and paste in here all of my stocks, or you can just do it individually as Sunny is showing you there. It's very simple. And I definitely kind of gauge this here. Just to see, how is it trending pre-market? What news is coming out? Also, is the volume kind of dwindling with that pre-market? That way we can see how it opens up. But that's pretty much some of the things that I do kind of day to
Mhm.
day, in the morning. Sunny, you care to add anything? What does your morning routine look like?
Yeah, before we jump to that, I do want to show the viewers a couple quick things to supplement what Coach Nicholas is saying. If you click on here on the wrench, make sure you have extended hours pricing turned on. That way, you're going to be getting pre-market and aftermarket hours pricing. Okay. And then there's just a few quick things I thought I'd throw this back at you. They ask you what time do you start your day?
So me and Sunny and I actually we are start to we're in the West Coast. We're in Los Angeles. So around 5:30 a.m. But usually I'm up 4:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time is actually when I pretty much start my day every day. That way I can get like a good hour of my research down. Um and I've been doing this for almost what 11, 12 years now. So I kind of have a method to my madness. My
Mhm.
desk is what I like to call organized chaos because no one else knows kind of where my things are in arm's reach, especially when I'm kind of still do the things a little old fashioned, with,
Mhm.
my trading journal and things of that sort. So I do the pen and paper approach from time to time. But yeah, around 4:35
Yeah.
is usually when I start my day. How about you, Sonny?
Excellent. Yeah, yeah. Same here. Me and Nick, I keep butchering. I'm just gonna call you Nico on the webinar. Sorry, buddy.
You're
But
good, bud.
yeah, me and Nico, we do the morning shift. So when you guys call in at 5:30 in the morning our time or 8:30 in the East Coast, you're talking to us essentially. So we have to get up super early. Just to address some more things here that people have been asking, is this recorded? Yes, this is recorded. So I know we haven't even touched, deep in the iceberg yet of what we're going to cover. So we will record this and you'll be able to view it later. And then someone asked about volume. Yeah, on volume, the nice thing is on MarketSurge, you can get the volume on over here, but on the right side there's a predictor where it says where it says -6% right there. That's essentially telling you that we're predicting that the stock will close at 6% below the 50-day average of volume. So if you ever look at this figure right here next to the volume, that's predicting what it will be. Okay. So as far as myself, what do I look at? I do want to commend Nico for bringing up, that he doesn't just look at IBD, he does look at what's available to him. And I think that's a great thing to do because there's so many resources out there and every little bit will help. Every extra data point will help. So certainly the fear and greed index will be nice. But I want to hone in on what do you guys have access on at MarketSurge, okay? And what do I look at on MarketSurge and pre-market? So I would first look at the market snapshot, which is on our homepage here. This is going to give you immediately, what happened the day before and where's our current exposure as far as into the market, right? This exposure level that says 80 to 100%, this is monitored daily and updated daily after market close. So if our market analysts see that, things aren't looking so hot or things are getting better, they're going to move the needle there whether they suggest the exposure level into the market should be 80 to 100 or 40 to 60, that sort of thing, right? It'll also tell you some quick information of what happened on the indices and also a distribution day count. Okay, so I would look at this first. What I'll also do, and those of you who have IBD as well, is I will take a look at the big picture article from the day before. So, like Nico said, I like to look at, all the different news. I guess my Wi-Fi is a little slow. There we go. So I like to look at all the news before the market starts, but the one I always focus on is under market trend called the big picture. Now, this article, it's written after the market close each day, and then I tend to look at it in the mornings just before my day starts. And you can just look at it here. There's going to be a short video that you can watch along with um, along with very relevant news of what happened during the day, and also this right here, I would say, where we get the market snapshot. That's pulling from this market pulse, which will give you more info. Someone asked about leaders, I think. So we have they'll tell you the leaders that were up in volume and down in volume from the day before, along with some other relevant info. So definitely check that out. That's under market trend, the big picture, if you have the IBD subscription. Other things I look at. Okay, so let's go to the tool. What do I look at on the tool before the market opens? I will definitely look at the IBD Live Watch and Ready list. So if you don't know, we do have a morning broadcast show that's Monday through Friday, and Monday through Friday they have a team of a panelists of a team of analysts who basically go over pre-market moves, what stocks they're looking at throughout the day. Basically, a little snippet of what we're doing right now. They do that Monday through Friday with our chief content officer along with some other guys I'm sure you've heard of like Mike Webster. And if you go under the reports stocks folder, if you have IBD Live, it will show up right here. They're built into the platform. Okay. And they have these two lists, the ready list and the watch list. And essentially, these are lists that our analyst team actually monitors and updates daily. So it's almost like if you have IBD Live, it's a little freebie that gets added into MarketSurge where you get a nice target list to look at. And the ready list is essentially stocks they consider are ready to consider looking at and getting into, whereas the watch list is just what it sounds like, right? So these are definitely the ones I look at in the mornings because I watch the show myself. And then I also look at the snapshot. Um, Besides that, let's move on to the or let's move on to once the market opens. What are you doing, Nico?
Yeah, I mean, getting up so early, kind of living day to day like everyone else here. I have a schedule, especially with me having pets. I have to take my dogs out. And I usually kind of walk them after I market opens. And the reason being here, it's just kind of the rat race starts so early. Just doing your research day in, day out, trying to become a better investor, try to make everything kind of work day to day, essentially here. With the market search tool, it's very simple to transfer what you're looking at on the desktop or laptop to a mobile version because we do have a mobile app. So I actually set on my trend lines or I'll set like some price alerts. Like for an NVIDIA, for example, all you have to do is just right click on the chart and I can just set a price alert once you click set alert at 190 and I go to done. And again, I'm doing this all pre-market. Now on the upper and now on the chart itself, around that 190 kind of dollar amount there, you'll see what we call a carrot. That's what a lot of us to refer to it as that. But that triangle on the right-hand side is just your price alert here. So what I do here, I walk my dogs in the morning, and then if I have to set these alerts, they carry over to my mobile version. And then when that's done here, if anything kind of happens, during me not being at my desk, because to be quite honest with you, I hate being glued to my computer all day and all night. Sometimes we just have to, but when I do take my swift breaks, I do like to have everything come to my phone and market search here again. You will be alerted in real time. Okay. Um, it'll be um, it'll be in real time if it hits that alert. Especially I'll set trend lines and use them as like some support and resistance as well. And I'll get those alerts in real time through my mobile device. So that's one thing I do in the market earn.
That's good. I think we definitely don't want to sit here and watch paint dry. We want to stay informed, like Nico said, right? So, but one thing I'm curious about is, since you walk your dogs in the morning, do you not trade like in the very beginning of the market, or?
Nah, the first 30, honestly, I manage chaos. um, essentially here, especially with the big institutions having a lot of things queued up during the first 30 minutes or even the first hour of the day. I don't really trade. I manage. Essentially here, if I'm losing conviction, I'll do some selling, shakeouts happen. False breakouts happen, usually in the first 30 minutes to an hour. So those are things that I'm looking out for. But to be quite honest with you, I'm not trading. I am just kind of managing what's going to happen for that day, continuing my research, especially with the institutions being huge within the market. But along with that, especially with the market search thing, well, with the market search tool, excuse me, one report I am looking at during the first kind of 30 minutes to an hour is earnings, because I do play earnings, especially if these companies are going to be reporting pre-market. I definitely want to um, see if I can go ahead and take advantage um, of some earnings. And I certainly showing you here, we have a tab dedicated to earnings specifically. Earnings upcoming are stocks that have to report within the next 14 days. Earnings reported are stocks that have reported earnings within the last 14 days. And this just is a great way to kind of even diversify your portfolio. And time again, we kind of buy those same type of stocks within the same industry group, and we end up with the same type of returns in terms of price. Also, I'm looking at earnings gapping up and gapping down, especially in the first 30 minutes to the hour, if they have reported pre-market, especially. And this is something that I tune into every single day. That's definitely a part of my overall um, kind of generating ideas with the tool. And then the one last thing I do in the first 30 minutes to an hour is I do look for industry rotation. Um, I think that's a huge thing. A lot of leaders have become laggards, and a lot of the laggards have become leaders. Um, and I want to see these industry groups rotate, with the IBD methodology, or even referring back to William O'Neill's book, How to Make Money in Stocks. He does tend to look to the top, but correct me if I'm wrong, Sonny, I think it's the top 25 industry groups.
Yeah, I guess it varies from person to person. I think O'Neill, he said 40. I'm sure they revised it to 25, but I think the main point is you're looking for the top stocks in the top groups, right?
Absolutely. And I look mainly at the top 40 to 50 groups, because sometimes these stocks tend to move in packs. And we've seen that historically. So I like to see things that were some huge winners at one point. They become laggards. Now they're coming back again. And when these stocks are actually coming back, I don't want to miss out. That's one thing here.
Hmm.
I don't want to miss out. So that's pretty much how I'm kind of starting my first
Yeah.
30 minutes during kind of the opening bell here. Now, Sonny, I feel like I'm just rambling. Just
No,
please,
you're good.
what's
I
going
think people
on?
are enjoying that. Yeah.
What does it
Um,
look like with you, bud?
Yeah, let me just show them real quick how to pull up stocks from a top group just because you brought it up. I'm sure they're curious in case they don't know. But, this is the groups list that Nico was mentioning under the weekly review right here. And really what you want to do is you want to sort it by group rank to make sure it's from best to worst. And what the name of the game is you're trying to find, the very best stocks in the very best groups, like O'Neill says, right? So ideally, especially if you're doing this, day to day or week to week, you're really not going to be looking at the ones at the very top all the time because they tend to have been sitting there at the top for a while. Maybe you'd want to do something where not too far down the list, but just maybe some progression, right? Because you could see some progression tabs here. You might want to find something perhaps like something like this, right? Electrical power. You'll double click to the group. You'll see that 3 and 6 months ago, it's really middle of the way or beyond below average as far as on the ranking, and now it's in the top 20. So you just have to double click on the group, and then you can open up this right side panel over here and you can immediately get the top stocks in this top 20 group just like that. Okay, so double click on the group, open up the side panel, you can get that. Okay. Um, just some quick questions I thought was relevant to what you brought up, Nico. Uh, looks like Joseph is encouraged by you saying that. Looks like David Ryan says the same about, not trading in the first 30 minutes. Me personally, yeah, Joseph, I I try to see if there's something in there. Maybe I'm a little bit more of a risk taker, but if there's something, in the first 30 that I'm just so passionate about and I've been monitoring and it's on my watch list, I might take a stab at it. But generally, I do agree with Nico. There's high volatility on the market open, and you might want to wait out any false breakouts. So certainly. Now, let me jump over to some of the things that I look at, right? And some of these might sound classic to depending on how long you've been with us so far. But definitely, the first thing I look at when the market opens is straight to the open stock ideas button. Just about everyone I know that calls in or I've coached, they go straight here and they look at these two reports. This right here is the meat and potatoes, everyone. Breaking out today and near pivot, right? These are essentially reports that are pulling from our already vetted Growth 250 that looks for stocks that have the best potential. And they're telling us immediately, right now, real time, which stocks are breaking out. Okay. So let me pull that up. And you could see on the chart there that it's crossed into our pivot zone. So anything in the breaking out today, I'll definitely take a stab at and look at the fundamental data. I'll also look at the near pivot report, certainly. I would say the near pivot report has plenty of strong names and they're just shy of the breakout. So I know that I haven't missed the action. And as Nico said earlier, I would want to set up alerts to stay informed. You can actually just simply right click the zone where the pivot is and set up a auto-generated pivot alert. You can even set up a stop loss. So a stop loss section right here, set alert, and you can set it up that way as well. So again, first thing I do in the mornings, first thing after the market opens is I go over here and I look at what's breaking out and what's near a pivot. To Nico's point, I'll also look at the what had a breakaway gap as well. I think that's something that I'm starting to add into my routine as well, just because it's always interesting to see, especially after an earnings event, maybe what has broken away from the day before as far as closing. The other big one's gonna be your RS line blue dot report, y'all. I'm sure a lot of you know that we're quite synonymous here at MarketSurge with the RS line blue dot report. But essentially, if you click on this report in chronological order, it does tell us which stocks are currently basically current leaders in today's market, right? You can see that nice blue dot that you might have ran into in some charts. And basically what it's saying is that it's outperforming the S&P at a 52-week high. So you see this black line right here? This is a visual representation of the S&P. This blue line is a visual representation of the uh, outperformance or underperformance of the stock compared to the S&P. So you can see here, that's great to see. And the thing that not only does it have to be outperforming the S&P, it also has to be building or breaking out of a base. So basically, in layman terms, these are leaders in today's market that are setting up, right? So you got a lot of good stuff going for you there. I tend to flag a lot of these stocks and look at them deeper. So those are the three main reports I'll look at. I also use my screens, so I will highlight some of that as well. So if you open up this side panel on the left, Nico mentioned he looks at his watch list, which is great, right, before the market. I also look at the screener to see if I can find anything that's worth looking at. Some that I've built, and then some that I'll look that's pre-made from our team. So if you go under the MarketSurge stock screens, you can get straight to what's up on volume. Okay, just like that, just 2 clicks. Open the screener, click on up on volume. You got all the stocks that are up on volume. Oops, let me close that up on volume and you'll be able to see all the stocks that are currently moving in the market. Okay. You can even further narrow this down by hovering over it. Click on this drop down. In fact, actually open edit. And let's create a copy of that. Okay. Something like this. I can do something like that, right? Just create a copy of the up on volume and maybe I want to make it a bit more strict. A little bit more of a filter down kind of thing, right? And just like this, I'm able to get two stocks that are up on volume and they got all my additional criteria. So that's what I do. I build screens for myself. I got a ton of screens. Some of these are from previous coachings, but I got a ton of screens that I work with. I highly suggest you do that as well for your first 30 minutes also. Um,
I do have
Nick,
a question for you,
go ahead.
Sonny.
Yeah.
In terms of, we got a question here in terms of moving averages here.
Hmm.
A lot of us coaches, we tend to use different moving averages. Some use EMA, some use SMAs. I use a 10 and
Sure.
21 day SMA custom moving average. Sonny, do you use anything specific?
Yeah, I mean, I try to mimic what they do on IBD Live
Okay.
essentially. So on IBD Live, they either use an 8 or 10 day. So I agree with that. And then they also use a 21 day, which I think is quite an industry standard. If you ever wondered why 21 days, that just happens to be the average number of trading days in 1 month in a month, right? But as far as whether to make it a simple moving average or exponential, meaning is it equally weighted or is there more of a focus on the more recent days? We generally try to do exponential for anything less than 50 days. Now, that's going to vary, of course, depending on who you talk to. But me, myself, I follow that. Anything less than 50 days, I'll put exponential. After that, I just make it an SMA. But yeah, 8 and 21 is what I use. And then I just match that on the weekly as well.
And that's perfect because your interpretation is our EMAs. While for me, I use a 10 and 21, but they're not EMAs, they're SMAs. So
Yeah.
this goes to show you how different two can be when we are doing kind of our analysis. Sunny likes 8 and 21 EMA. I like 10 and 21 SMA. So that again, we're just giving you that look behind the curtains on how two individual coaches kind of do their
Mhm.
research day to day.
Yeah, and I think that was a lot to cover, but I want to tackle these questions because there's some good ones here. Um, Someone mentioned about looking at new highs list sorted by composite rating. That's actually pretty easy to do, so I'm just gonna go ahead and show right now. So if you go under the reports folder into the let me collapse some of this stuff real quick. 1 second. Okay, so if you go under the reports stocks folder, you have a weekly new high report right over here. Okay. And if you pull that up, you can sort by any of these column headings just by clicking on them. You can just simply click on the composite rating and you can see which stocks have a 99 and are on the weekly new high report, just like that. So I think I forgot who asked that. Was that Joseph? I think that's a great thing to take a look at, certainly, in the mornings if you'd like. Definitely find your style, of what reports you want to focus on. Um, do you mind if I show them real quick how to add favorites, Nico?
Not at all. Please do.
Yeah. So, um, if you click on the open stock IDs on the top right, I'm all about saving time, everyone. Because just like Nick, I don't got dogs, but I got two kids, and they're like 2 and 6 months old. So I don't have that much time in the mornings. But I do like to keep things nice and tight and organized. So if you click on open stock IDs on the top right over here, instead of uptrend, you can actually go over here under favorites. Okay, and you can add any of these reports, whether it's here or in this list panel or even your screener. You can actually add all this stuff just by going straight to the list tree and adding what you'd like, even the one I just created like this. Okay, and that way you don't even have to click through all this stuff. You could just go straight to your favorites tab and just go straight to what you want to look at. Any questions on there you want to take a stab at, Nico? I think we got a couple good ones here. We have some time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see here a few of the people are curious on what does the green flag with the percentage mean
Ah,
on the
yeah.
price chart.
Yeah,
Um,
let me pull that up. You could go over
yeah.
it.
And essentially what that's telling you here is that that stock has more than 20% movement within 3 weeks or 15 days. Is that correct, Sonny?
Yeah, 20 greater than 20 to 25% across 3 weeks from a breakout. Yeah.
Perfect. And that we call that a power from pivot. Green flag is what that's actually called. Um, and again, if the stock moves 20 or 25% within 15 days or 3 weeks, you'll see that green flag. As you can see, this one's 58%. So when the stock broke out of that, looks like a cup pattern there. It
Mhm.
hit 58% within the 3 weeks or 15 days.
Yeah, and to add to that, great, Nico. Yeah, to add to that, the whole point of why they're showing you that flag is, you saw earlier I was showing you traditionally we have on there shaded that, you would take profits at 20% in the green zone, right? Let me just go over there real quick, actually. So you take profits at the 20% green shaded zone right here, and then you would cut losses in the pink shaded zone at 7%. Now, that's if you follow those rules, right? But there is an exception to that O'Neill noticed in his journey of investing and whatnot, is that some stocks don't obey that. Some of them will just keep running up, right? And so if you have stocks that might have a monster run, how do you find that? Well, that's what this indicator is for. If you have a stock that shoots up in a relatively short amount of time, and they have a huge price increase, that's an indication to you to potentially ignore that 20% profit taking rule. And here you would instead do what O'Neill calls his 8 week hold rule exception, where you would consider holding it for 8 weeks, and instead of taking profits, you just reevaluate later. Now, of course, we're not saying we're going to blindly, stop looking at the stock. If it comes back and eats back towards your breakout, of course you're not going to hold on to it, right? But you see what happened here, right? This is case in point of what O'Neill's trying to talk about, is if the stock breaks out on high volume and a huge price increase in a short amount of time, you might want to hold on to that. It might be a monster. Yeah. All right. How does IBD rank industry groups? Well, it is proprietary, but it does have to do with institutional sponsorship, price and volume. We don't have the exact. It is proprietary essentially, but it has to do with those things. But it is ranked daily, which is nice, so that way you can see where it moved the next day. Okay. You see anything else on here you want to touch on, Nico?
No, I think that we did throw a lot of information in a very, very short time, but I also
Mhm.
think we were very swift and on point. So I don't want to overstimulate them more than I feel like we've had with
Sure,
our
sure.
chaotic morning in first 30. So I'm good here.
Okay, well, yeah, you guys, again, this is what we do. I'm sure you have other ways yourself and other coaches do also. But if you did want to talk to me or Nico, feel free to call in. In the mornings, we're here for you. The hold times are relatively short. So call in if you have any questions, pick our brains. And yeah, happy trading, everyone. Thanks, Nico.
Cheers, guys.